Aquitaine, archaic Guyenne. Guyenne was a traditional region of France, and was an administrative region of France until the 1st of January 2016. It is now part of the new region Aquitaine-Limousin-Poitou-Charentes. It is situated in the southwestern part of Metropolitan France, along the Atlantic Ocean and the Pyrenees mountain range on the border with Spain. It is composed of the 5 departments of Dordogne, Lot-et-Garonne, Pyrénées-Atlantiques, Lens and Gironde. In the Middle Ages, Aquitaine was a kingdom and a duchy, whose boundaries fluctuated considerably. History. Ancient history. There are traces of human settlement by prehistoric peoples, especially in the Périgord, but the earliest attested inhabitants in the southwest were the Aquitani, who were not proper Celtic people, but more akin to the Iberians. Although a number of different languages and dialects were in use in the area during ancient times, it is most likely that the prevailing language of Aquitaine during the late prehistoric to Roman period was an early form of the Basque language. This has been demonstrated by various Aquitanian names and words that were recorded by the Romans, and which are currently easily readable as Basque. Whether this Aquitanian language was a remnant of a Vasconic language group that once extended much farther, or whether it was generally limited to the Aquitaine Basque region is not known. One reason the language of Aquitaine is important is because Basque is the last surviving non-Indo-European language in Western Europe, and it has had some effect on the languages around it, including Spanish and, to a lesser extent, French. The original Aquitania at the time of Caesar's conquest of Gaul included the area bounded by the Garonne River, the Pyrenees and the Atlantic Ocean. The name may stem from Latin. Aqua may be derived from the town Aqua Augustae, Aquita Bellici, or just Aquas, or as a more general geographical feature. Under Augustus's Roman rule, since 27 BC the province of Aquitania was further stretched to the north to the river Loire, thus including proper Gaul tribes along with old Aquitani south of the Garonne within the same region. In 392, the Roman imperial provinces were restructured and Aquitania Prima, Aquitania Secunda and Aquitania Tertia were established in southwestern Gaul. Early Middle Ages. Accounts of Aquitania during the early Middle Ages are blurred, lacking precision, but there was much unrest. The Visigoths were called into Gaul as foederati, so legalizing the status within the empire. Eventually they established themselves as the de facto rulers in southwest Gaul as central Roman rule collapsed. Visigoths established the capital in Toulouse, but the tenure on Aquitaine was feeble. In 507, they were expelled south to Espagne after the defeat in the Battle of Vouillé by the Franks, who became the new rulers in the area to the south of the Loire. The Roman Aquitania Tertia remained in place as Novem Populania, where a duke was appointed to hold a grip over the Basques. These dukes were quite detached from central Frankish overlordship, sometimes governing as independent rulers with strong ties to the kinsmen south of the Pyrenees. As of 660, the foundations for an independent Aquitaine, Vasconia polity were established by the Duke Felix of Aquitaine, a magnate from Toulouse, probably of Gallo-Roman stock. Despite its nominal submission to the Merovingians, the ethnic makeup of New Realm Aquitaine wasn't Frankish, but Gallo-Roman north of the Garonne in main towns and Basque, especially south of the Garonne. A united Basque Aquitanian realm reached its heyday under Odo the Great's rule. In 721, the Aquitanian Duke fended Umayyad troops off at Toulouse, but in 732, An Umayyad expedition commanded by Abdul-Rahman al-Ghafiqi defeated Ardo next to Bordeaux, and went on to loot its way up to Poitiers. Ardo was required to pledge allegiance to the Frankish Charles Martel in exchange for help against the advancing Arabic forces. Basque Aquitanian self-rule temporarily came to a halt definitely in 768 after the assassination of Wafer. In 781, Charlemagne decided to proclaim his son Louis king of Aquitaine within the Carolingian Empire, ruling over a realm comprising the Duchy of Aquitaine and the Duchy of Vasconia. He suppressed various Basque uprisings, even venturing into the lands of Pamplona past the Pyrenees after ravaging Gascony, with a view to imposing his authority also in the Vasconia to south of Pyrenees. According to his biography, he achieved everything he wanted, and after staying overnight in Pamplona, on his way back his army was attacked in Roncesvalles in 812, but narrowly escaped an engagement at the Pyrenean passes. Seguin, Count of Bordeaux and Duke of Vasconia, seem to have attempted a detachment from the Frankish central authority on Charlemagne's death. The new Emperor Louis the Pious reacted by removing him from his capacity, which stirred the Basques into rebellion. The king in turn sent his troops to the territory, obtaining the submission in 2 campaigns and killing the duke, while his family crossed the Pyrenees and continued to foment risings against Frankish power. In 824, the Second Battle of Roncesvalles took place, in which Counts Iblis and Asna, Frankish vassals from the Duchy of Vasconia sent by the new king of Aquitaine, Pepin, were captured by the joint forces of Inigo Arister and the Banu Qasi. Before Pepin's death, Emperor Louis had appointed a new king in 832, his son Charles the Bald, while the Aquitanian lords elected Pepin II as king. This struggle for control of the kingdom led to a constant period of war between Charles, loyal to his father and the Carolingian power, and Pepin II, who relied more on the support of Basque and Aquitanian lords. Ethnic makeup in the early Middle Ages. Despite the early conquest of southern Gaul by the Franks after the Battle of Vouillé in 507, the Frankish element was feeble south of the Loire, where Gothic and Gallo-Roman law prevailed and a small Frankish settlement took place. However scarce, some Frankish population and nobles settled down in regions like Albigeois, Carcassonne, Toulouse, and Provence and Loire-Rhône. After the death of the King Dagobert I, the Merovingian tenure south of the Loire became largely nominal, with the actual power being in the hands of autonomous regional leaders and counts. The Franks may have become largely assimilated to the preponderant Gallo-Roman culture by the 8th century, but the names were well in use by the ruling class like Odo. Still, in the Battle of Toulouse, the Aquitanian Duke Odo is said to be leading an army of Aquitanians and Franks. On the other hand, the Franks didn't mix with the Basques, keeping separate paths. In the periods before and after the Muslim thrust, the Basques are often cited in several accounts staring against Frankish attempts to subdue Aquitaine and Vasconia, pointing to a not preponderant but clearly significant Basque presence in the former two. Recorded evidence points to the deployment across Aquitaine in a military capacity as a mainstay of the Duke's forces. Romans are cited as living in the cities of Aquitaine, as opposed to the Franks. Aquitaine after the Treaty of Verdun. After the 843 Treaty of Verdun, the defeat of Pepin II and the death of Charles the Bull, the Kingdom of Aquitaine ceased to have any relevance and the title of King of Aquitaine took on a nominal value. In 1058, the Duchy of Vasconia and Aquitaine merged under the rule of William VIII, Duke of Aquitaine. The title, Duke of Aquitaine, was held by the Counts of Poitiers from the 10th to the 12th century. English Aquitaine. Aquitaine passed to France in 1137 when the Duchess Eleanor of Aquitaine married Louis VII of France, but their marriage was annulled in 1152. When Eleanor's new husband became King Henry II of England in 1154, the area became an English possession, and the cornerstone of the so-called Angevin Empire. Aquitaine remained English until the end of the 100 Years' War in 1453, when it was annexed by France. During the 300 years that the region was ruled by the kings of England, links between Aquitaine and England strengthened, with large quantities of wine produced in southwestern France being exported to London, Southampton, and other English ports. In fact, so much wine and other produce was being exported to London and sold that by the start of the 100 Years' War the profits from Aquitaine was the principal source of the English king's income per annum. After the 100 Years' War, the region served as a stronghold for the Protestant Huguenots during the 16th and 17th centuries, who suffered persecution at the hands of the Catholic French. The Huguenots called upon the English crown for assistance against Cardinal Richelieu. For the 13th century until the French Revolution, Aquitaine was usually known as Guyenne. Demographics. Aquitaine consists of 3,150,890 inhabitants, equivalent to 6% of the total French population. The region of Aquitaine forms the sixth most populated region in France. Culture. Language. French is the official language of the region. Many residents also have some knowledge of Basque, of a dialect of Occitan, or of the Poitevin-Saintonge dialect of French. In 2005, 78,000 children were learning Occitan as a second language in state schools and 2,000 were enrolled in Occitan medium private schools. Basque speakers number about 73,000, concentrated in the far south of the region, labored 37% of the population. Lower Navarre and Amp-Sol, 76% of the population. Important cities. Bordeaux is the largest city in Aquitaine. It is a port city on the Garonne River in the Gironde department. It is the capital of Aquitaine, as well as the prefecture of the Gironde department. Bordeaux is famous for its wine industry. Apart from Bordeaux, there are also other important cities in Aquitaine: Bordeaux, Pau, Mérignac, Pessac, Bayonne, Talence, Anglet, Agen, Mont-de-Marsan, Dax. Sport. The region is home to many successful sports teams. In particular worth mentioning are Football FC Girondins de Bordeaux, one of France's most successful association football teams. Pau FC, FC Libourne-Saint-Seurin. Rugby union is particularly popular in the region. Clubs include Souagan, Avarin-Bayonnais, Biarritz Olympique, runners-up in the 2005-06 Heineken Cup. Union Bordeaux Beagles, Section Paloise, Stade Montois, US Dax. Basketball. Élan Bayonnais Pau Orthez, one of the most successful French basketball clubs. Bullfighting is also popular in the region. Major surfing championships regularly take place on Aquitaine's coast.